is a video for Chapter 2. I would suggest that you have a piece of paper and you draw out the accounting equation, assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity, and also indicate that assets are increased on the debit side, liabilities and owner's equity are increased on the credit side, with the other side being the decrease. Revenues are increased or kept track of on the credit side, expenses the debit side, and dividends the debit side. So have that paper in front of you, and then we'll continue on. This is the one I'm going to go through. So again, you have this from class. If not, go on Moodle and print off a copy. Notice this is the unadjusted trial balance as of July 31st. So as of July 31st, these balances are in the accounts. So remember $52,500 for cash for right now. And we're going to go ahead and do these journal entries. And so we need to record the journal entries, and we're going to journalize the transactions. We're going to post it to the ledger and do another trial balance as of the end of the next month. So, pause this. Okay, so if you recall, we had $52,500 in cash. This is really what a general ledger looks like. And so we're just going to do this for cash, but in order to save paper, I'm just making T accounts for the other ones. So notice that a T account is simply this part of the general ledger. Actually, it's this part, I'm sorry. This part of the general ledger, because we really don't need the balance until the end. So we're just going to put the debits and the credits. I'm going to put the beginning balance up there. So notice that up here, accounts receivable has $100,100. Cash has $52,500, and so $52,500 in cash, and then I'm doing simplified versions of it for accounts receivable. I'll do a few of these postings, but I'll just show you the balances at the end. After I do a couple of them, you'll get the hang of that. This posting to these is a little bit of busy work. The analysis is in the journal entry. Okay, so the first question that you did, purchased office supplies on account for $3,150. So you're going to ask yourself, what did we get? We got office supplies. Office supplies is an asset. Assets are increased with debits. So I'm going to debit office supplies for $3,150. And how did I get those? I got those on account. Accounts payable is a liability, so I'm going to credit accounts payable since it's a liability, so I credit it for $3,150. This posting reference is just the account number for office supplies and accounts payable. I will never ask for those, but you can see that office supplies is account number 14. If I go up to the ledger, cash is account number 11. Office supplies would have a 14 by it in your homework. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and post these. So in office supplies, I debited it for $31.50. So I'm going to go up here to office supplies and write $31.50 here on the debit side. I'll let you do that so I just don't have to keep changing through my marker. So put office supplies of $31.50 here, and then go to accounts payable and add $31.50 there. Do a couple more of those, and then I'm going to not do them anymore. My next one, probably get sick, but paid rent for the office of $7,200. So we need to ask ourselves what's going on. So I paid rent. Sometimes you want to look for the cash first. So I did pay rent for the office for the month, $7,200. So it looks like I paid cash. Cash is an asset. Assets are going down, so I credit cash. What did I pay? I pay rent. Rent is a cost of doing business, so I have an expense. So I'm going to debit rent expense and credit cash. Now again, I'll do this one. I need to go to my rent expense T account, and I need to add in the $7,200 on the debit side. And for cash, I need to add in the $7,200 on the credit side, and I can have a balance there. I'm not sure if you have to do that on your online homework or it does automatically for you, but notice this is just busy work, a little bit posting to the ledger. So it's just a matter of can you get it on the right side when you recopy, and it's easy to make silly mistakes when you do that. But again, the important part's the journal entries, and that's what I'm going to focus on. I'll show you the ending balance in those at the end to see if you caught them all. Next one, receive cash from clients on account. So notice this is on account and I got cash. So I received cash, so cash as an asset is going up, and I got cash from clients on account, which means I had previously set up an account for them and now they're paying it off. So it's just like the school sends you a tuition bill. They set up an account receivable to you or from you, and then when you pay it off, that goes down. So I'm getting cash, so I debit cash, which is an asset, and my accounts receivable is going down, which is an asset. So in other words, I'm getting paid instead of a promise to pay. So my entry is to debit cash and credit accounts receivable for $83,900. Paid insurance premiums of $12,000. Again, the word paid would indicate cash is going down, so cash is an asset, so I'm going to credit cash. And I paid insurance premiums. Generally, you pay for insurance ahead of time, and since you pay for something ahead of time, it's a current or future benefit. So I'm going to put it into prepaid insurance. Make sure you know this is an asset. That's pretty important to know that that is an asset. Thought I had a little pencil there. Okay, so make sure you know prepaid insurance is an asset because I have something coming to me. So notice later on when we get into the next chapter, we're going to use up that prepaid insurance. So that prepaid insurance, as it's used up, will come out of prepaid insurance and go into the expense. The next one is we returned a portion of the office supplies purchased on August 1st. That's this one. Receiving full credit for their cost, $400. So notice that if I purchased it with this entry, to return it, I would simply flip it. So I'm going to debit accounts payable, so I no longer owe them, so it's going down, and my office supplies are going down. Oops, still in my drawing. Okay, so I'm just flipping it for office supplies and accounts payable. And again, you don't have to do the posting reference. This is just the account number. Is account number 21, just like you have a student account number. This account number is 21. So look how it's just the flip of this entry. Next one, I paid advertising expenses of $8,000. So ask yourself, what did I pay him with? I paid him with cash. So cash is an asset. It's going down. And I paid advertising, which is a cost of doing business, and costs of doing business are expenses. So I debit advertising expense and credit cash. Paid creditors on account, $13,750. What did I pay him with? I paid him with cash, so cash is going down. So I need to credit cash, and I'm paying creditors on account. When you see the word account, it is either accounts receivable or accounts payable. And creditors, you generally pay them. So I'm getting rid of my accounts payable because I'm paying them off. So I get rid of cash. Cash is going down and my accounts payable is going down. So my running total of how much I owe people is going down. So if I went to the T account for accounts payable, notice I added 400 there. I'm sorry, I added 3150 there. I took out 400 and I took out 13,750 in that. So let's go to the T account real quick. And accounts payable, notice I had 21,000 in it, and I just paid some off. So you're going to see some being added to it and some being taken out. Now we're on to the 29th, which is on the next page. I paid miscellaneous expenses of $1,700. What did I pay him with? Paid him with cash, so cash is going down, so it's credited. And I paid miscellaneous expenses, and I debit expenses. So I debit miscellaneous expense, and I credit cash. Just a reminder, debits always come first. Credits are indented. I'm not really sure if your online homework indents credits or not, but credits are always indented. Again, posting reference, you may have to put those in this chapter, probably beyond chapter 3 or 4, you won't have to put those again. Next one, paid automobile expense, including rental charges for an automobile of $2,500. Keyword is paid, so cash is going down, so I credit cash. And what did I pay? I paid auto expenses, so I'm going to debit automobile expense and credit cash. Sometimes if you don't know what to debit, you just have to look at your choices. And my choices up there, if you go back to the trial balance, hold on. here's my choices. I can look through those and see what I have my choice, and so there's automobile expense. So that's what I'm choosing. My next one, discovered an error in computing a commission during July, received cash from the salesperson for the overpayment, $2,000. So notice that I received cash. So the cash part is easy. I'm going to debit cash because the business got the cash. So notice it was from a salesperson on a commission. So I need to figure out what in the heck my credit is. This is a salesperson. Again, I go back up to my trial, look at my choices, and notice that I'm the company. The company paid a sales commission, and commissions are a cost of doing business. So this makes sense. So notice I had $385,000 that I paid them. Now he's paying some back. So my journal entry would be to take it out of there because the company is reducing the commission expense. Okay, so an easy way to do this is if you took the cash first, then you would be forced to credit the salary and commission expense. So remember when I said you're probably wrong over here? Notice we credited an expense. And why did we credit an expense? Because we're fixing an error. So generally, if you credit an expense, you're fixing an error. Paid salaries and commissions for the month for $53,000. We paid them with cash, so cash is being credited. Salaries and commission is going up, so my expense is being debited. Next one, recorded revenue earned and billed to clients during the month for $183,500. It says we recorded revenue, and we're also talking about clients. So that's what we're in business for. So we're going to have a revenue. And notice it says billed clients, so they haven't yet paid us, but I have something coming to me, so I'm going to receive some money. So if I'm dealing with customers or clients, I have an account that's receivable, and that's an asset. So I'm going to debit accounts receivable and credit a revenue. You could call it fees revenue, fees earned, fees income, something to identify that that's a revenue. Purchase land for a future building site for $75,000, paying $7,500 in cash and giving a note payable for the remainder. So again, you could take cash first. We paid $7,500 cash, so cash is going down by $7,500, so I'm crediting it. But what did I get? I got land, and land is an asset, so I'm going to debit asset land. I credit cash for $7,500, and I owe the rest. It says I signed a note payable, and a note payable is a liability. So notice I can have more than just a debit and a credit. I have, my debits have to equal my credits, but I could have 50 debits and 50 credits if I wanted to, as long as they equal. So notice this side is $75,000 and that side ends up to be $75,000. I just paid for some now and will pay some later. Next one, I paid a dividend of $1,000. So again, cash is going down, and notice I have dividends, so dividends are debits. Next one, rented land purchased on August 31st to a local university for use as a parking lot during football season. To a local university. So I am renting, I'm the landlord. I received advance payment of $5,000. So again, you can say, what did I get? I got cash. So cash is going up. And I really wish they hadn't put this one in this chapter. But you might say it's a revenue, but the problem is I haven't yet earned it yet. So I'm going to put it into an account called unearned revenue, and make sure you know this one, right down next to it, is a liability because I owe the money back if they don't use it. So now I'm going to show you the T accounts if I would have remembered. Let's remember that cash is credited for $7,500, $1,000, and then debited for $5,000. But notice that what we do with the cash account, $7,500 credit, $1,000 credit, and $5,000 debit. So look at those. Credit, credit, debit, credit, credit, debit. So basically what you do in these ledgers, and these are really important prior to computers, we don't spend a whole lot of time in here beyond figuring out how it all works together. But notice I write them here, but I need to accumulate it because if somebody walks in on August 29th and says, hey, how much cash do you have? I need to be able to say $93,750. So I kind of keep track of it as I go along. Now in your little T accounts, all you're going to have is this. Now, if I have this balance, I personally just write it in on the last time instead of on my balances as I go along, because I think the computer can do it for me. But for accounts receivable, you should have a debit on the debit side of 100,100, and then underneath it a credit and a debit for 183.5. Draw a line. So hold on. Okay, so notice here's your little T account of accounts receivable. You should have posted a debit for 83.9. I'm sorry, a credit for 83.9 and a debit for 183.5. So I'll see if I can find those. There's my credit for 83.9 that we would have posted on that side, and then my debit for 183.500. Now draw a line like this, and now I'm going to add up my debits, add up my credits, and net the two. And whichever side has the most, that's the side I'm going to put them on. So I have debits of whatever, 283,600 and credits of 83,900. Net them. I have debits exceeding my credits of 199.7. So basically, for the most part, your assets are going to end up with debit balances. You could really have a cash overdraft, which would be in the credit side. But I'm doing those T accounts for all of them. So that's what it's going to look like. But over here, just to double check your balances, accounts receivable is going to have 199.7. I'm going to do the same thing for prepaid insurance, and I have 24,600. Do T account for office supplies, same thing. It'll have a debit balance of 55.50, etc. So you can check these are on Moodle, etc. So now, remember accounts receivable of 199.7, and remember cash of 36,750. So the next thing after I do that is I do a trial balance. So as a trial balance, I simply list every account. So this is just a repeat of the opening. Sometimes you'll add accounts because I'll buy something. Let's say I pay an expense that I didn't have up there. So if I pay insurance expense, I would have to add that account. But these are simply the balances. So look, not 199,700, 199,700, and look at your cash. You have 36,750. Here, these debits have to equal your credits right here. If you don't, you have an error. Quick ways to look for the error. If it's divisible by 10, you've probably left off a 0. That's a common error I do. So you wrote this as 1,000 instead of 10,000. Another thing, if get the difference, divide it in half. So for instance, if I put this 10,000 on this side is 10,000 too high, this side is 10,000 too low. It's a $20,000 difference, so divide it in half and look for that. So if my difference was 20,000, I divide it in half, I go right there, and I would double check that I didn't put accounts payable on the wrong side. If it's divisible by 9, look for a transposition. So if you put this as 36,570 instead of 750, this difference would be divisible by 9. So that's just kind of how to find some. So hopefully that will help you with your homework and you can go through it.